Got the Seinfeld music going.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to Everything to Gain. This is episode 8, and today we're going to be talking about AI, and it is coming for your jobs.
We're at 8 episodes already.
This is 8.
Holy camoli!
Look at us!
Yeah.
Look at us! Look at us! Look at
News
us.
on the tape is AI everywhere, guys. As you well know, the AI concerns are permeating every industry. Everyone is worried about jobs, whether it's officially where there's been layoffs or unofficially where there are concerns around what does this mean for the implications of my future employment in my career.
Yeah, and so what makes a job that can be replaced by AI? We know what this is, right? This is anything that is rules-based, right? And it may not be the whole job, maybe it's parts of the job. So this week, Mark, I don't know if you saw this week news stories that came out. Big one was autonomous trucking, right? And everyone's talking about, oh my gosh, you're gonna have to deal with these robots that are driving big trucks on the road, and tractor trailers are going to be hitting the road this year, right? But what does that really mean for that industry? And so I was looking it up. 3 million long haul truckers just in the U.S. They're going to be out of a job, right? Eventually, right? Then there's another 2+ million in support, logistics, right? Done. They're out of a job because it's math, right? Ultimately, it's math. And then the bigger number, I think, that no one's even talking about is warehousing jobs, right? So like loading trucks, offloading trucks. I mean, we already know that Walmart is using robots to stock shelves, right? So why not use them to move around stuff? Also, this week there was a survey by Resume Builder. Did you see this?
Yeah.
They polled 750 business leaders. 53% of companies already use AI in some way, shape, or form, and then another 24% plan to start using AI this year. So that is, if I'm doing the math, and I'm not really good at math, it's 77% of companies out of these 750. Now, relatively small sample, but these are still it's not a bad sample. 37% of these leaders say that AI already replaced workers this year, and then another 44% they say will drive more layoffs in 2024. So, what's happening? Well, AI is it's coming for your job. And then this goes back to last December, I believe it was Goldman Sachs, our former competitor, right? They said that they estimated 2 out of 3 jobs have some exposure to AI.
I would call them someone in the race with us. I don't think they're not really a competitor, but keep going.
Yeah. So 300 million jobs will be lost globally, and that's in the short term. So that's another thing. And then today we obviously had jobs report. The jobs report came out. Fewer than expected jobs were added in April. So obviously that's a monthly number, right? Unemployment ticks up slightly, 3.9%. But a bunch of articles have noted that hiring has been flat to down in tech, finance, law, and accounting, which brings us exactly to where we're going to focus on today.
That's a lot of stats and data, Dan. I want to just wrap a couple of stories real fast just to contextualize that. 2 quick anecdotes. Number one, both from today, by the way. I had a back and forth with the managing director on Wall Street, whom we both know. And his question was out to the ether. I don't understand why these companies complain about the lack of services. They want better service for their customers, but then there's all these layoffs going on. To which I responded that the drive for efficiency in capitalism, the number one biggest expense facing every company, you know what it is?
Yeah, it's people.
It's people. So if you just logically map that out to the end.
Any organization, the military, people, right? So
number 2, I get my haircut this morning, right? A little high and tight. And the woman is doing.
I want the Angelos. I want to get the Angelos.
She's shaving up the side. And I'm thinking, honestly, this is a true story. Like an hour and a half ago, I'm thinking of the Boston Dynamics dog robot things. As she's shaving, and I'm like, we're getting to the point where the dexterity of a machine, you could technically, if I just say, listen, I want a high and tight, give me a, zero high fade. And this thing's got a picture. Remember, these things understand. The day will come where you don't have to have a person cutting hair. And that's a definitely a dexterous, human-centric thing. So I thought to myself, God, this is like the white collar stuff, the blue collar stuff. It's all in the crosshairs at some point.
Yeah, I'm not going to trust any robot to my haircut though anytime soon.
Look, it looks like you already do.
Unless I'm getting one of your.
It look
give me the Angelo.
A bowl and scissors, Dan, works well for you.
What?
I'm kidding.
HR, hold on.
Yeah, we're thankful we don't have one of those.
That's true. That is true. So, everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. We are live as always here on LinkedIn, Twitch, and this week we are actually experimenting YouTube Live. So, if you want to hop over to E2G Show on YouTube Live, you can comment as well over there. We really appreciate everybody being here. Please comment. Send us questions, whatever we can do to help you. But let's get into this, Mark. So, sure. Which jobs are disappearing?
All right. Well, you've touched on it. Accounting, finance, legal, and trading right now are the top four that caught my eye because those are considered upper crust, white collar, big money jobs. Yeah. Customer service, data entry, food service, administrative, which is basically anything from secretarial to clerking and filing. Logistics and warehousing, you touched on with the trucking, of course.
It's math. It's literally
healthcare, radiology, journalism, as we've well seen in the bloodbath that's gone on there the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, like journalism makes me a little sad, right? Because ultimately, creating content, is what we do, right? But the authenticity behind it, it used to count a lot for something, and I think it still does. However, I think a lot of people are used to reading, content that's written by ChatGPT, right? And it's people are okay with a B-, kind of an article, right? Like it's really not that good.
I would say this for anyone who considers themselves a content creator or a writer, which Dan, you and I are/were. You got to think bigger. Like whatever you did as the task is not your role anymore. You have to be the strategist around that now. So up level yourself and say, if I'm a writer, I'm actually now a strategic business coach in your case, Dan. I train people over here. Like you need to think of how does that fit in the thing I did into the larger picture.
Yeah, right. And so interestingly, I did ask a resource, what jobs would be replaced by AI, and who did I ask? I asked ChatGPT. So ChatGPT came up with this, and I thought this is hilarious, right? What jobs would be replaced by AI? Manual labor. So repetitive, predictable physical tasks. Information processing, we talked about that, right? So kind of like the administrative, customer service, telemarketers, sales reps, transportation, radiology, and manufacturing. Though that came from ChatGPT. So it's kind of like our AI overlords are, kind of giving us the map here, right? So
what caught my eye on that, Dano, was sales. And I do agree that it's going to be replaced, but that's the one I think is the left hook people don't see coming. Sales is a very human thing, but it's still a rote, disciplined, orderly, process-driven thing. Like it's a mechanical process. Yeah, it just happens without words.
Right. So, hey, by the way, we have a question from the audience. Lisa Piatek, thanks for this question, Lisa. How do you see AI changing the arts fields, e.g. graphic design, interior design, etc.? It is already happening, but how much do we see the human element still needed for areas like the arts? Terrific question. I think that, things like the execution of rules-based tasks. So it could be interior design, right? This is your configuration of your space. How can we do that better? I think that that can probably be done, right? Graphic design, you want something, but you have to be okay with that B- product, right? Because we've talked about this on previous shows. You can never be as smart as an AI, but you can be more human as an AI. So I mean, there's.
I'm going to take a crack at this as well, Lisa. I think that this is going to expand on what I started to talk about thinking of yourself in the bigger picture. If you're still thinking, this is for everyone, Lisa included, but for everyone listening, if you're still thinking of what you do as your job, the task, the role, the activity that you're performing, you need to change your thinking. It is not the work-based thought process anymore. That's labor-based. That's industrial era thinking. You need to think of it as this up-level strategist. So you need to have something that is uniquely you, your own, that an AI can't do. What would that be? It's not going to be work or labor. It's going to be things like your mission, your vision, your experience, the way you think about the problem. How I would describe, why would you work with me if you can get better answers from ChatGPT as to what to do to grow your sales and marketing?
Right.
The answer is because I connected with Mark, or in your case, Lisa, I view your art skills as good. Maybe they're just good enough, but I really like the way you think about the problem. I really feel like you get me. That's not just a graphic designer, then that's a business partner.
Right. Right. And hey, by the way, John Kazora has a question. What's the solution for differentiation? Make yourself invaluable. And we are going to get to that towards the end of the show. We will be back to that, John. So now, those are the jobs that we think are going to disappear, or they're already disappearing, right? As
they don't admit it, but they are already disappearing.
So now the question is, what makes an AI-proof job, right? And so we're touching on this now: critical thinking, problem solving, empathy, EQ, right?
I want to just take a step back, Dan, and just say there is such a thing as an AI-proof job. It's just not based on work.
Right. And so what are those AI-proof jobs? Let's take a look at them. I think I've loved this for a very long time. Healthcare jobs, specifically within like something that requires a human, right? So nursing, PT, OT, speech therapy, PAs, NPs, mental health,
nurture and care. I would describe that as
nurture or hospitality.
Yeah,
right?
like if you
right, hospitality.
Even if you can get the Boston Dynamics robot to care for your dying grandmother, you're not going to want that. You're going to want a person to help her. You know what I mean? Like that's
that was Asimov, right? Isaac Asimov wrote about that.
Like your grandmother.
Yeah. So social work, right? That's all EQ, right?
Totally.
Right. But then we've also liked construction. Construction jobs I think are terrific. Plumbing, electrical, HVAC, maintenance and repair. So auto repair, right? Or fixing something in your house. I think those are great. Creative arts, we touched on that before with Lisa's question. So like music and education, right? So in teaching, right? And then project and product managers. So in many different industries, project managers are they're wrangling, right? They're wrangling people to make sure that they're going to hit their targets, right? They're the how. And then product managers, they're the ones that are thinking of the cool stuff to build, right? So product is the why and project is the how. So
I want to summarize. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
I want to summarize those. The overarching categories you started off with, which these all fit under, is going to be critical thinking, problem solving, and EQ. Right. So critical thinking was my point with Lisa before about being the strategist versus just a person doing the thing.
That's right.
The problem solving, I'm going to say, is your example, Dano, of the plumber. I, for example, need a new hot water tank. There's no way I'm going to AI that, right? I have the motor burned out on my dryer the other day. That's not
really.
Yeah, like that's not. Someone's gonna get paid to fix that. Number 3 is going to be the empathy thing. Empathy, EQ, call it what you will, but the people skills aspect of caring for a child, caring for an older person, educating people that need mental assistance,
right.
Children, special needs, these types of things. Even if you could AI that, and you can't, humans will not opt.
Right? Yeah,
they don't want that. Not for my kid, my pet, my family member. Like it's going to be any money's they'll pay.
That's right. So, by the way, you mentioned thinking, right? And the ChatGPT is only as good as what you tell it to do, right? And even if and even then, you have to say, oh, do it in the voice of this author or this celebrity, right? And so it still needs to be told. It's almost like raising a kid.
It's
right?
totally
right.
Prompting's a skill.
Okay, so I asked ChatGPT again. What jobs will not immediately be eliminated by AI? Anything with human interaction, strategic planning, skilled trades like carpenters, plumbers, electricians, specialized knowledge, medical specialists, scientific research, right? So they have this knowledge that. But now this is ChatGPT. So Who knows? It could be wrong.
No, because ChatGPT or any of these large language models will be an aggregator of information on the internet, but they're not going to be the depth of specialty knowledge because that's not on the internet. It's not like if I went to I'm a heart surgeon for 34 years, I'm not updating every day how I do my thing.
Right, and every situation is custom anyway. Right. So, social services and complex decision making. So that's from ChatGPT. So
complex
now that
decision making. Define complex decision making, Dan, just so people can have a handle on that.
Well, if you're a therapist, right, and you're going to help somebody make a decision, right, on where they go with their life, right, it's an AI could never do that. There's no way an AI could ever do that.
I'm going to put some handle on this as well. Just it's occurring to me as you're speaking. If there's a death sentence criminal trial, and a ChatGPT can call all the old cases and decide if this person should live or die, we're all going to want a human in that process somewhere to oversee this and say, okay, the final decision wasn't made by a machine, that this person is being put to death. I'm exaggerating to make the point that critical decisions are different than just regular, like what color branding.
Right. And so that I think that's where the dichotomy, that's where the split is in the legal profession, right? So litigation, court cases where you actually need a person to make the decision. I think that it can't be replaced by an AI. And ultimately, if you do use an AI for that, then it becomes Minority Report, right? So
the three women in this water tank.
No, that was actually the hack, right? Because it wasn't a computer; it was actually dependent on these three.
Move on. We'll be here all day. Don't give this guy a beer or a microphone, folks.
But but then the flip side of that, right, is contract work, right? So contracts are contracts. You negotiate; it can be negotiated, right? And it's usually around rules based on conditions from both sides, right? So a lot of contract work, I think that's toast, right? Because it's rules based. So, which brings us to what can you do today, right? What skills, right? So, we've talked about this, right? Practice, right? EQ, practice strategic, critical decision making, right? And so I did ask ChatGPT again, what are the most important skills for work to learn in an AI world?
A lot of irony in this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. That's the whole point. Combining technical and soft skills, right, is what we're really kind of talking about here. So this is from ChatGPT: problem solving, adaptability, creativity, emotional intelligence, data literacy, which is understanding how to interpret and draw insights from data, right? So then you can make a better decision, right? Data-driven decision making. Communication, tech savvy, understanding digital platforms and emerging technology and how to use them. That's going to be huge. Ethical reasoning. You need help with that. Leadership, conflict resolution, right?
Yeah.
So motivation.
I want to put a handle on this also in that this is going to go counterintuitively more towards the human side. Believe it or not, people are going to want more of the people thing and less of the tech thing because the tech thing is overblown. I do 2 other podcasts just for fun, one on blockchain, one on AI. So I'm not anti-AI, but I will say this. The outgrowth of all this automation and AIization, it's going to end up where people want to deal with people. So if you are thinking of a career or a business move or some sort of expansion of what you're doing and how you may earn your money, start thinking down the lines of people-oriented versions of what you do, customizing what you do at the people level. So problem solving, adaptability, creativity, that's a machine can do some of that. But when you apply it to handholding a child in their education or figuring out how to, customize the electrical build out of some type of audio visual installation, like these are things that it requires critical thought and a personality. And people have to get to know you as you in whatever you're going to do next.
Right.
Job
and
or otherwise.
Back to Lisa's original question, right? So being able to generate original ideas, right? To think in a way that nobody has ever created before, right? So that's like creating the look and the feel of something, right? Like that still needs a human, right?
I also want to go ahead.
Whereas the execution of it you might be able to tell ChatGPT or a generative AI, hey, I would like to create this thing, right? And we've actually kind of seen that, right, with some of these really funny movies, like, hey, recreate Star Wars in the style of Wes Anderson, right? But
Right.
you're still telling it to recreate Star Wars in that style, right? So there's definitely a difference there around the creativity, because you have to come up with the idea, like, oh, I would like to combine those two ideas.
I want to press on that issue a little bit more, Dan. I think that folks need to learn to use the AI tools to be creative. We're not telling you to not use AI. You don't have to outthink this thing. You have it. Just as Dan has illustrated in using the tool here to give you guys a lot of good examples, you can use the tool to say things to it like, come up with ways that have never been come up with before that do blah, blah, blah. Give me 5 unusual ways of learning how to market my company. Like, you have to get creative in your handling of it, but it is a weapon in your hand and you should be using it. Do not put it down. Do not try to not use it. Learn how to use it and learn how to apply yourself in new ways. I sit sometimes, this is ridiculous and silly to admit, but I'll tell you, I have entire conversations with the machinery around my company, what I should be doing, strategic thoughts. We go back and forth for 2 hours all the time. And like, say what you will. It's helpful. It sparks things in my head. So my point is, there's ways that you can use the tools, and you should be thinking about that.
So where do you think we should go, right? So, what can I do right now, in this, the future of work is here, right? It's here. AI is here. It is not going away. If anything, it's just getting smarter and smarter, kind of like the Matrix, right? And so what are the things that we can do today?
All right. Well, number one, you have to find your direction. It might be the direction you've been moving in for the last 20 years in your career, or just starting out in, or it might be what you think you want to do, but it might not. So it's time to decide, is this what I really want to do? Because this is going to change. You're not going to do your job for the rest of your life anymore, ever again. Like, that doesn't happen. So what direction do you want to move in? If you like the people thing, great. If you don't like the people thing, that's also fine. But figure what would be a potential move. You don't have to do anything. Just think.
So on that, I think people, they get stuck, right? Because they want to be comfortable, right? And so I think to find your direction, you have to be uncomfortable, right? You have to be comfortable being with, like the saying goes, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so that takes a little bit of work. You might have to go to a therapist to go talk to them about that. But ultimately, the world is changing. The only constant in the world is that it's going to change, right? So if you know that, then you have to be comfortable with either affecting your own change, find that direction, or it's just going to happen for you, right? And
you can't do nothing.
Right,
change the promise whether you like it or not. It's here.
Right. I mean, we talk about layoffs, right? And you have the tap on the shoulder, right? Well, AI's tapping you on the shoulder right now, like, hey.
It's tapping all of us on the shoulder, Dan. I run a business, so do you, and it's still tapping us as well. Like, this is the world we live in. It's okay.
Right. So, Lisa, how do we use it to our advantage to be more effective and efficient? So, actually, we're going to go into that right now. So
before you do, though, I want to just touch on, Lisa, do you want effective or efficient are two different things. Efficiency means you're spinning the plates as tightly as possible. Innovative and effective means that you've got a better way to spin plates, or even what plate should I be spinning? So AI, before you even start just figuring out how do I do my thing better, give a bigger picture thought to, is this the best way for me to be applying my skill set? Like me. Yeah. Mark.
So actually, she continues here. We are using AI in our sales team to help create custom emails with data and messaging. What we have had to learn is how to become good prompt engineers. Yes, that is a job that is right now. It's not a future job. It is 100%. Here. If you are using tools like Gemini or ChatGPT, learning how to use prompts is critical. Absolutely, right. So
this surprises companies, though, right? People jump right to long division without knowing math, like addition and subtraction.
Right. And I think a lot of firms, especially or organizations within firms like sales teams, marketing teams, they're always thinking about, what's the yield? If I'm going to spend money and time doing that thing, what am I going to get out of it, right? And ultimately, with most marketing, it's a bunch of experimentation, right? It's A/B testing, right? Figuring out what messaging works, what doesn't work. And
I want your distinction. Go ahead.
And then reading the data that comes back, right? Yield management, that's a thing in digital marketing, right? The click-throughs, it's not just click-throughs, right? It's not just open rates, that you can find on any constant contact or any email management type of platform. It's really about the yield, which you don't know until you actually try it, and then it ends up being as they're doing now, truly custom, because custom emails that actually shows, well, the person is talking to me directly, not just sending out this blast that we've seen on LinkedIn, right? All the pitch slaps, right, which we love to get every day. But anyway,
so what is the functional purpose of why you're using the AI? I'm going to start with this. Dan and I both worked in B2B sales for decades, right? We understand how the big companies sell and how to do that. That's going to be just a matter of efficiency play. How do we get to more people quicker, easier, get them to close faster, right? Shorten sales cycles. That is very different from the small business entrepreneur thing you and I are both doing now, Dan, which is how do we dabble with this thing to come up with new ways to market and sell and create a relationship with potential prospects. So for example, I built an AI avatar of myself just for the hey of it. I didn't put it into the marketplace. My point is that's not something a B2B sales guy is going to ever do. You need to decide how to use the tool for your job is different from how do I prepare my future with this tool.
So that actually happens to be one of the learning points, right? That we put together here. So number one, find your direction, right? Got to find your direction. Got to get over all of your potential misgivings, and now taking a class, right? Taking classes on either making a pivot and finding something new, or starting your own company, right?
Time to learn.
Then learn how to leverage AI, right? This is your new company. This is your new staff, right? In many ways, right?
Do you know why online education is going through the roof right now? Do you know why colleges are shutting down at the rate of 1 a week? It's because people are trying to learn, but it's not in the traditional places anymore. Your company doesn't want you to learn how to use AI to come up with new and innovative ways for you to grow your career. They want you to just do the thing better.
Or we'll just lay you off, right? So
right. You don't have to go into business for yourself, although I would advise it. But I do think that you need to be thinking, how am I going to use the tool? Taking classes is step number one. Whatever it is, you got to learn.
Got to learn it, right? And so learn how to leverage AI, right? Then from there, build your personal brand, right?
What does that mean?
Well, ultimately we have to be known for solving a problem, right? Providing a service is the end product, right? The service or the product. You're solving the problem. And that's where really the basis of branding and marketing really should be. What are you doing that's going to make their day better?
In the old days, we would call this reputation. Personal brand just means people know you as the person that does that thing. Whatever it is, you're really good at that thing. You got to decide what that thing is.
Right. So whatever that thing is, right? Whatever the thing is, talk about it and put it out there, create content, right? Then network, right? We got to network. Ultimately, you got to learn from the people that you don't know, right? I think a lot of people still do networking the old-fashioned way, right? Which is, I'm going to talk to all my best friends. I'm going to talk to my colleagues, former colleagues. Ultimately, you have to learn from people you don't know. And that, by the way, that's a previous episode. That was a previous episode.
You know, because you do this too, Daniel. But like, you put out a piece of content, and folks you haven't spoken with in 10 years ping you. You can network at scale in a way digitally on these channels that you can never do in person.
That's right. And anyway, so that's one of the things that we actually teach. But then you actually have to execute and make your pivot, right? Go to that new industry, create that side hustle, right? And then talk about that pivot. Right. And this is the thing that we've actually been calling each other out on, that we have to do more of. Right. It's not just talking about the place that you're going, but talking about the process of pivoting. Right. Because that's actually educational for most of the audience. Right. So it's not just I'm going to go do this new industry. It's how did I get there?
I want to point out a generational difference here. Younger folks are comfortable and familiar with the term building in public. Older folks either don't know the concept or are not comfortable doing it.
Are you calling me young? Are you calling me a young folk?
I mean, the way we're operating, yes. The reality is you have to be willing to talk. If I had $1 for every time I heard that's what she said joke out of you, yes. The reality is, like, this may bomb, right? Dan and I may get on a podcast here live and like just totally fudge it. But this is what you're going to have to start doing if you want to advance in the world. There's no more like perfection is reality. That's not how it works anymore.
Actually, improv is the most EQ thing we can do, right?
You know.
Right. So,
Yeah.
okay. Next. So, learn relationship selling versus transaction selling, right?
So I'm going to argue that in the world of social media, where everyone knows someone that you know and you don't even know about it, all sales is relationship sales.
That's right. All long game.
You don't have to call it that. But no one's doing any business with you or going to contact you or outreach you until they talk to someone that knows you. You know, like that's just how it works. It's how it used to work too, but now it's easy.
Yeah. And so the fun thing about networking is that how you actually execute it. So one of the things that we've done, right, not just between us, but with other folks, we've created some strategic alliances, and then we've also created masterminds. So just get together. It's almost like your own personal chamber of commerce, right? So
I'm going to give you a free tip right here. Put together a list of 5 to 10 people you should be following on LinkedIn because A, you like their content, B, you like the type of person they are. It's probably not going to include Dan or I, to be honest with you. But like, if you're not putting together your own little tiny board of directors for free for yourself privately, you don't have to tell anyone, you're falling down on yourself. Number two, a mastermind doesn't have to be some official thing. It's not Toastmasters. You can just say, I'm going to hop on a call with 2 buddies once a week, and we're just going to share thoughts on how we help each other grow their business.
Yeah, absolutely. You totally can do that. And then, because everything comes around, everything that goes around comes around, right?
Sounds like the Beastie Boys.
Is that from Paul's Boutique?
Yeah, nice. What goes around?
That's right. So share your knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So share your knowledge. Got to
we're doing here.
And that's why we have this show. So
right, this is not meant to be driving business in terms of like you guys have to pay to enter to hear these things. Like you can do the same thing. Reach down and pull up somebody who's a little bit further behind you on the learning curve. I don't care. Like age is not a factor. Whatever you do in your space, whatever industry or field you're in, you know a lot. Share. Cross-reference it.
So anyway, thank you so much to you, Mark, for a great episode. This is
it's a pleasure to be sitting side saddle with you, Dan.
Fun as always. Thank you to the audience, Lisa and Jess and John, for your comments. We really appreciate any questions.
Yeah, before we ditch, I want to just summarize this because we talk fast.
We totally should do that. Yes.
Two loudmouth sales guys, you get them on a microphone is what happens. So what can you do, guys? The 10 steps you should be thinking about, some version of it for yourself. Number 1, find your direction. What is it you think you might want to do? It'll change, but just have some ideas. Number 2, take some classes. Either bone up on what you know and you need to get tighter at, or find some new things that might be interesting to you, but start learning. Number 3, find the ways to leverage AI for yourself. Might be innovating new systems or processes. It might be doing what you do more effectively. Just learn how to leverage AI. Number 4, start working on a personal brand. Publish one thing one time only on a LinkedIn or some other platform of your choice, but just start putting some thoughts out there. Number 5.
And then more and more.
Number 5 is to network. Start reaching out to folks. Start touching base with people either through the channels or in person. Dan, one of your old favorites I love was you go back to your phone and find the oldest message you got and just call them. Yeah. Number 6.
So fun.
Start making a pivot. It's time to start thinking about a side hustle, a second job, something on the side that no one needs to know about it. This isn't as formal as it used to be in the old days, but start thinking about a pivot. Number 7, you got to create content, something. Podcast, blog, article, something. Doesn't have to be a regular basis. This isn't a job, but you should start to get familiar with making content because that is selling now. Speaking of which, number 8, learning sales. The number 1 skill of whatever you're going to be doing in the future is going to involve selling yourself, selling a product for your company, selling a product for a company you work for, something. Number 9, collaborate. Start figuring out who can I start to work with, who's in my neck of the woods, what types of things can we help each other with. Yep. Number 10, share your knowledge. Who can I bring up the curve with me?
Yeah, as the saying goes, we lift as we climb, right?
I love that. I learned that from you, actually, Dan.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Well, you're welcome. You didn't say thank you, but you're still welcome. So thank you to the audience again.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate you tuning in every week.
Yeah, follow us at E2G Show on Twitch, YouTube Live, and follow us back here on LinkedIn Live. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really helps as we get more exposure. If you could do that, that would be tremendous. I want to give a shout out to our good friend LJ Tisdale, who is the DJ Metronics. He is the composer of So this has been Everything to Gain, episode 8. Episode 8. Next
Flying
week
by,
will be
baby.
episode 9. Look at this.
That's
Look at
great.
us.
It's good seeing you, Dano. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you could, please recommend this. If you feel like liking it or hitting on questions, it helps the algorithms distribute it to people who might need this help.
Yes, please. And we're all about helping people. So thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend. All right, take care.
Peace.